Anybody an Aquarian here? Wow, what's your name? Archil. Okay. Archil, right? Okay. So here you go. Aquarius. It's the Mumbai Mirror today. The tarot reveals a slight delay if looking for a job. Friends make good sounding boards about some of your radical ideas. Some may invest in residential property. That sounds cool. Wow. Karmic undercurrents advise maintaining a calm mind. And your lucky colors, pale pink and silver. "11 days after I was born, my Amma went to an astrologer again. Lots of families in India have a family astrologer. It's a very popular tradition here to make a visit after a child is born. My mom had actually gone to see him while she was pregnant, and he proudly announced that I would be a boy. When I was born, she took me inside to see him, or so I was told later, and then washed her hands of me. I'm probably very lucky that I don't live in certain parts of India where much worse could happen, but for me, the parties involved compromised and allowed me to live, but nowhere close to my mother. My grandparents took me in, and no one told me anything else. The next 5 years, I grew up in a village, Tanjavur, in Tamil Nadu. This place well known for its temples and Bharatanatyam style dance. Some of my very first memories are me sitting on the stone floor of the temple, and I was just watching these dance recitals. The dancers performing, expressing their feelings in the form of abhinayas really mesmerized me. Their deep black eyes with that kohl smudged, the temple jewelry and the vibrant costumes of Bharatanatyam, they all fascinated me. I never sensed the absence of my parents or my siblings, though I had one sister. My days were busy playing with my friends, and at bedtime, Grandma told me stories of kings and demons. I loved this little world of mine. Occasionally, I asked Grandma about my Amma and Appa. She was smart enough to change the topic, and she would continue with the story. The answers to my question came 2 months before my 5th birthday, when my grandparents announced that we were going to Mumbai to meet my parents. I didn't want to go. But as a soon-to-be 5-year-old, I didn't have a choice. Growing up in a village, Mumbai seemed like a fairy tale. The tall buildings, the rattle of the rickshaws, the bright signs, the incredible traffic, they were all new to me. People here were running a race. Everyone trying to catch a train or a bus or pushing one another over here in order to be first to stand in that endless line. And in that crowd, in Kalyan station, I saw him, my Appa. My grandpa pointed out to him. That was the first time I saw him. I was too shy to even look at him. I just hid behind my grandma like this. Appa came closer to me and took me in his sturdy arms, and he kissed my cheeks. This was the first time somebody held me so close. My eyes kept searching for someone else. I guess Appa sensed it. "Amma is at home waiting for you," he said. We got into the rickshaw immediately and drove. Like Appa said, Amma was at home. But she wasn't waiting for me. "Why did you bring her here?" were the first words I heard her say. She threw the pillow on the floor and sat on it looking out the window. I was just shaken. I was with the people who gave birth to me, but I felt like a stranger in their lives. Because I was. My birthday was an afterthought, and Amma's indifference kept increasing day by day. She never spoke to me. I looked to her to hear my name from her mouth, but she made herself too occupied to even notice my presence. I tried to strike a conversation with my elder sister Vidya, but she was 8 years older than me, and a stranger too. I was a baby to her and she was busy with her studies and her friends. After staying with me for a few days, my grandparents left for Tanjore. I tried to sleep that night, but I couldn't. I missed the stories, the temple music, the dance, my friends. My world was small, but it was mine. Now, I was somewhere else. I remember, rice and sambar served with appalam in front of me to eat, but I didn't feel hungry. Maybe I was acting out for the attention. God knows that I wanted it and I needed it. But as time went by, I got thinner, sicker, and weaker. Few months later, Amma was diagnosed with a very rare blood disease. I remember watching her holding her chest and struggling to breathe as if someone had stuffed a cloth in her mouth. The medical facilities in India in those days were not so advanced, and the doctors couldn't figure out what to do. One Sunday morning before my 10th birthday, during my summer vacations, Amma had a stroke, and her body started turning blue. Appa left to call the doctor while I stayed with her. One moment, I could feel her heartbeat, and the next, it all went silent. She lay there on the mat with her head on my lap. I could barely move. I froze. Hands are gone. The heaviness of her head made my left leg numb. By the time Appa reached with the doctor, it was all over. Appa held me tightly. His eyes welled up with tears. He asked me to stay with the doctor, and he went to the telephone booth to call my uncle, my granny who had come for the vacations, and my sister who was staying with them. As soon as Granny entered the house, she started crying and shouting and beating her chest with both her hands. She turned to me. She held me by my arms like this and shook me literally like this and said, "Are you happy now you killed my daughter?" Appa stood in one corner of the room. He was too shattered to even react, I guess. I was confused. The ladies in the house gave Amma's dead body a bath and draped her in a new sari. They then put a big red kumkum tikka on her forehead. The pandit or the priest, he came at 3 p.m. and all the formalities were done by 6 p.m. I ran to Appa when he came from the funeral. He was quiet. I asked him why Granny had said that I had killed Amma. He told me that 9 years ago, our family astrologer had warned them to keep me away from the family. His exact words to my mom were, "This child came into the world to kill you. Her stars are unlucky." His reply shook me completely. I remember I had fever the whole night and I was blabbering something. Amma's death changed Appa. Appa spoke less and spent most of his time buried in newspaper or books. His previous tolerance of me was all the more magnified by my mom's indifference, but now that that was gone, he started to play her part as well as his own. Incredibly, against all logic, my Appa had started to believe the prophecy that my mother had held on to all these years. Maybe he needed someone to blame for her death. When we can't explain something, sometimes we automatically point the finger to someone else. What little connection I had with my dad started to dissolve as he drifted away slowly. School was the only sanctuary that I had, and I dreaded to come back home to an empty house where my Amma's memories had now taken over. I started to daydream visions of her, constructing memories, that we have never had. As if she spoke to me, she cuddled me, she hugged me. Wondering how she could have been manipulated into doing something that she did. Imagining how a fraud astrologer could live with himself after tearing apart a family in exchange of few hundred rupees. I was a bubbling soup of emotions. I would cry at the drop of the hat, yell for stupid reasons, and throw tantrums out of nowhere. Studies didn't interest me, nor did conversations with anyone, except for one person, my sister. She became my confidant at this point. She urged me to tell her what was bothering me. Not that she had answers to my questions, but having someone to talk to really helped a lot. Every evening, once she was back from her college, we spoke for hours, or rather, I spoke for hours as she got busy preparing dinner. She was there to listen, and slowly this became my routine, and I loved it. Few years later, Appa started searching for a groom for Vidya, my elder sister. When he found a suitable match, he broke the news of her marriage, her wedding, one day. The mere thought that she would go away from me brought back the familiar sensations in the pit of my stomach that I had on the night when I came from Tanjavur. It was as if my heart was about to explode, but I managed to smile and congratulate her. The next few days, I hardly spoke to anyone. My appetite was gone, and I sensed the similar feelings that encompassed me years back. I wanted to talk about it to my sister, but everything was, eclipsed by the plans of shopping, saris, and malls in Dubai. Yes, that was the worst part for me. She would be 2,000 kilometers away. As I helped with the wedding preparations, my tantrums and mood swings increased. Conversations seemed empty and pointless. There were a million thoughts running on my mind, but I couldn't share anything with anyone. I started bunking college and spent hours traveling to Marine Drive, which was almost 40 kilometers away from my college. I spent huge chunks of my day sitting there, staring at the waves hit the rocks continuously, not knowing where to go, what to do. The only person who was there to listen to me went so far away. I remember asking Appa to loan me some money to call Vidya, but he refused. So I stole. I didn't bother how much I needed or what, but I wanted to call her then and there. She was busy with her new life, happy, and she told me how beautiful Dubai is, how wonderful the people out there are. Everything. I was helpless and empty again. I wanted to end this feeling of helplessness, and the easiest way to do this was to end my life. The next day morning, I took Supermax blade, which my dad used for shaving, and I cut my wrist. As the blood oozed out, I sensed a liberating feeling, as if the pain had subsided. But I survived. Few months later, a red dupatta came to my rescue. I took it and tied it on the fan and tried to end my life again. But I survived. After 2 unsuccessful attempts at suicide, I had no other option but to continue to live. But how? Every day I struggled to eat, sleep, and to even do the normal tasks like brushing my teeth and combing my hair. It was ridiculous. In India, strangely, all problems have just one solution: marriage. I was not ready for marriage, but the forces in the society pushed me towards it, and despite all that I was going through, I did somehow manage to find an incredible person and fell in love with him. People are sometimes complicated. They are complicated. Part of you can be content while other part of you is raging out of control. We can only keep them separated temporarily. We talk so much about giving love, but seldom speak about receiving love. After all these years, I finally was getting love, but I didn't know how to reciprocate. I struggled to express my love to my husband. The suicidal thoughts had stuck to me like an iron to a magnet. I thought it was just a passing cloud, but no, it was a giant monster that was eating me up inch by inch every single day. It didn't help that when I was married, my dad told my husband that my stars were unlucky and about my mom's death. My mind kind of kept thinking ways to end this throbbing pain. I actually signed myself up for various adventurous activities like rappelling, valley crossing, ropes courses, and difficult treks, knowing that sometimes there are accidents on these trips. I was trying to put myself really close, in close proximity to disaster. I remember climbing up to Echo Point in Matheran on May 7th, 2006. Yes, I remember that date. And thinking how easily I could die if I ever so slightly slipped off from the top of the mountain. I wondered if it would be painless. 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant. My friend said things will settle down when the child comes. But the birth of my daughter didn't change anything fundamental for me. In fact, it added to my misery. I was already helpless. I couldn't manage myself, not even comb my hair properly, and here there was a life that was totally dependent on me for every single thing. I started behaving hysterically. I remember one incident wherein, I had to check the temperature of the milk before I gave to my daughter. And I don't know, absent-mindedly I just gave it to her and it was too hot. And my husband started questioning me, where are you? What are you thinking? How can you be so careless? And I remember I just took a chair like this and I just flung it across the room. And it broke. My husband was just standing there. I struggled fighting all of this alone, skipping meals or at times crying for hours. I didn't enjoy the little milestones of my daughter's young life. The mantra of ending my life was a parasite, sucking out the joy around me. Some days I imagined standing up and running up to the stairs of my terrace and jumping off. Would I fly? Some days I thought to just let go of the hand support as I stood on the footboard of the Mumbai local train. And on one of those worst days, I went to the newly opened Crossword bookstore in Mulund. I had bunked my office that day. There were beautiful diaries kept over there, with handmade paper. There were these nice pens, nice soft music, books all around, soft cushiony sofas, couches over there. I picked up a diary, and the moment I held it in my hand, I felt the sudden urge to pour my heart out completely and to write all that was bothering me. I immediately picked it up and sat down. At first, I struggled to write. It was like this, literally struggled to write. But as days progressed, the dam broke and words kept flowing and flowing and flowing. Writing became my therapy. And by articulating my pain, slowly my emotions came under my control. My daughter's unconditional love kept refueling my hope. She wasn't bothered if I didn't cook. She wasn't bothered about my hair. She wasn't bothered about how I looked. No matter how much I yelled at her, she would still come and melt in my arms. That kind of unconditional love I hadn't received all these years. After 3 years of maintaining a journal, I started my blog and discovered that there are many, many people out there who have dealt with similar symptoms and are leading a perfectly normal lives now. Gradually, I picked up the broken pieces and with the thread of my words, weaved my life again and gained control over myself. As much control as all of us have, any of us have. Most importantly, I learned what it really means to forgive and to let go. I learned how to transform my thoughts and interpretations of what happened to me. And it was like someone took my black and white life and threw 1,000 cans of paint over it. When I got rid of the interpretations that other people had placed on me, my life became my own. And it was more glorious than anything I had ever seen before. I even took a dance class. The memories of Tanjavur were no longer airy and lonely. Every day, people read these in the newspaper. I know some of us do it for fun. But it's incredible to me that some people really do believe in something like astrology to the extent that they would hand over their sense of right and wrong. I think it says something about how difficult life can be for some people that they would rather blame our problems on the gravity of the planets rather than take responsibility for the hearts they break. In my opinion, knowing yourself requires a lot more hard work, while knowing the midheavens, constellations, fortune cookie wisdom of the zodiac takes very little. Maybe it all comes down to that for most people. This offers the path of least resistance. As for me, I got lucky and found a way to navigate around the stars back towards the earth where I live. Thank you.